building multi-million dollar businesses.
Your ability to perform at a very high level. It's having the conversation with your manager.
That you are owning your voice and your agency, and it's time to start working on that next today. Hey guys, it's your coach, Dr. Cynthia here, and I am so excited for today's guest. I started stalking this woman on LinkedIn over a year ago and just loved everything about her, loved her directness, her no BS, calls it like she sees it. Talking about Christy Rutherford. She is an internationally recognized executive advisor and the creator of the 500K to 1 million Executive Accelerator. It's a premium leadership program for ambitious professionals like you seeking top tier executive pay. Over the past 7 years, she's helped leaders in diverse industries and 20 different countries to generate more than 421 million combined raised and business revenue. I mean, what? That's amazing. Her clients include 12 executives who achieved over 1 million in compensation packages, as well as one who scaled her company from 100 million to 500 million. She's a graduate of Harvard Business School, a former U.S. Coast Guard commander, and her career is rooted in the discipline of global leadership and strategic influence. If that's not enough, she's the author of 12 books and has been featured in Forbes 4 times, y'all. Harvard Business School Executive Education, Black Enterprise, and Business Insider. We're so excited to welcome Christy. Thank you so much for being here.
Dr. Cynthia, I cannot wait to dig into this conversation. It's going to be so good.
It is going to be so good. How did you start this whole thing? Because you've lived lots of lives, doing lots of things. So walk me through briefly, like, how do you go from U.S. Coast Guard commander to building multi-million dollar businesses, not only for yourself, but for lots and lots of people?
I think the root of who am I like to win, one. But I'm also a super nerd. So I've been reading self-help magazines since I was 12. And so I've always been that friend, the rational friend that you can call for advice. So I would read books to give advice to people. I used to read, so while everybody, I don't know, our kids was playing, when I was 12, I was reading Better Homes and Gardens, fitness magazine. You remember First? I don't know if they still have First. First, right? Like First is like a magazine. It's just a magazine with data. So I'm a data collector.
I love it.
I can see people for who they are operating in their full potential, not necessarily for how they're showing up. And so in my career, I like to win and I like to prove people wrong because, you know, Black woman, it was about 50 Black women officers out of 47,000 people. 50 was a high number. So when I joined the Coast Guard, it was probably 20, 25 of us. And so I was told you'll never make it. And I said, okay, so let me prove you wrong. But in order to prove you wrong as a leader, if I have 12 people working for me and they're giving me 10%, I need to figure out, Dr. Cynthia, how to get them to give me 120% so I can prove them wrong. So they became the test bed of, you know, how do I now implement my gift? And that's what I did. So I built high performing teams, which made me super successful. And then the Black officers weren't promoted at the same rate as our white male counterparts. And so I created a mentorship program in 2007. And I'm like, okay, I've been listening to y'all complain for 5 years. Now let me take what I know and now implement that. And so now the Coast Guard has the largest number of senior Black officers in history. That was me. Even,
That's amazing.
12 years later. So now going to coaching, I didn't know that coaching was a thing until I went to a conference. And this lady was talking about coaching. I'm like, wait, that's a thing? Wait, I can get paid for this?
I do that.
Yeah. So that's pretty much, that's the origin story. And so that's just who I am by nature. And I just monetize who I am. It's my gift.
Wait, it is your gift. It is your gift. And one of the things I didn't say in your opening highlights, but I want to mention because you just sort of danced around this, is you were also the 13th African-American woman to achieve the commander rank in the U.S. Coast Guard in their 230-year history. So you like to win, and you've made a career out of winning, not only yourself but helping others win, which is freaking amazing. I love every bit of that. Now, what's funny in watching and listening and following you is one of the things I know is that you don't have a lot of patience either. With respect to those who aren't willing to step up, speak up, play up, right? So, there was a point of frustration you had, the woman listening, right, which is this audience of those who are trying to climb the corporate ladder without breaking a heel. The woman listening, you went through some frustrations along the way with women and their excuses and maybe putting things off. Talk about that, because I think that's one of the things that drew me to you is this. Yes, there's lots of things standing in our way. We can all appreciate that, but we have to make our way.
Yep.
Talk about your perspective about that.
What's interesting is when I was in the military, we're expected to be the strongest chain, the strongest link in the chain. And so I am a creator of high performers. All I want to do is perform and excel. I like to win. And when I left the military, I started to, and then when we leave is when we start to get on LinkedIn. And I started to look at all these articles that talked about what women couldn't do, and whole studies like women in the workplace of what women can't do. And we're not conditioned like that in the military. I mean, I'm not going to say that we don't have our battles, because we do, but we don't read information. I mean, continuous again and again and again of what we can't do. And in 2019, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to work with women because that's my new adventure. I've got men promoted, probably 200. I'm still counting. And I was like, I've got Jordan men promoted. Getting women promoted is going to be a good challenge. It's going to be a good adventure. And we did. Now, was interesting, and I've learned now that I have the data, because I got 200 men promoted, Cynthia. And now that we've got about 110, 115 women promoted, I now see the differences in how men show up and how women show up. It's completely different of how we process information. And when I tell a guy to do something to get promoted, because the game is the same. I've been in the game 25 years. I know I look like I'm 12, but I've been in the game a long time. And this is what I do. The guy will go, boom. He does exactly. Men just want the strategy. They say, Is this all I have to do? I'll be like, do these 3 things. Men will go as simple as pie and check the 3 boxes and get the results. Men get promoted faster than women. And I know if I'd have worked with men specifically in the past 6 years, would have been at $2 billion in salary raises, but whatever. But when I tell a woman to do something, she has to emote first. Women emote, men execute. Women need to think about how they feel about what I said first. Then they need to filter it on how they feel about it. And then they go and they ask for people to support their belief in what I said. I'm an expert. And so they'll go ask their friends, and then they'll be like, will you support me on this? Women will emote and think about how this one action. Now, there are probably 20 actions that I need you to take, but they have to think about this one thing that I told them to do. How is that going to affect how other people see me, my spouse? How is it going to affect everybody? And so they almost distort the information that I told them. And by the time they take action, the action that they take is to mitigate how other people are going to feel about what they're going to take action on.
Right.
And we, so that's why women are stuck. So I wanted to give the background of why women are like that. So I just get frustrated. I'm like, man, just take the action. Right. And so I start yelling, and then I get passionate, and then I have to like knuckle sandwich women to get them to take the one action and let the chips fall where they may. Right. So that was the roundabout reason of why I get frustrated, is because they're taking too long to take the one action. And I've seen it, and I know it's going to work.
Right. As the expert, it's going to work. Here's what's so fascinating about that, because I consider myself to have all in all, more masculine leadership traits. And I don't mean that from a gender perspective, right? More masculine leadership traits. But you sharing that, it's the first time I've heard you say that, I can completely relate. So my branding marketing company has given me some advice around this way in which they want me to coach. And I said, I'm going to need to think about that. I'm going to need to think about that. That is counterintuitive. What you're asking me to do is counterintuitive to the way I coach, the way I think about things. They said, stop using we and start saying you. You need to do, not we need to. I said, women traditionally use we. It's a softer approach. They're like, that may be, but it's not the direct approach to get them where they need to go and get you where you need to go. And so it's funny listening to you. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm an emoter. I didn't even know I was an emoter. So how do you get women recognizing, generally speaking, we are who we are? How do you get your clients to speed up the emoting process, right? Because chances are they're not getting rid of it altogether. How do you get them to speed up to action?
The self-care recipe is 1, meditate 3 times a week for 5 minutes. If I can get, and this is the high achiever recipe, but for women especially, if you can meditate 3 times a week for 5 minutes, we're processing and we're multitasking and we're thinking about what's for dinner and we have to do our job and you got to pick the kids up and you got to make the husband happy and you have to do all these things. So we're over processing data and information. And don't even get me started, Cynthia, we have the podcast that we have to listen to and the magazines that we got to read. So we're overprescribed in all of this information. So the junk drawer is what we're filtering what somebody tells us to do and the conditioning of what we can't do and that we're not perfect and be just a good little girl. Mm. If I can get them to slow down their brain just a little bit. So work out, it's meditate for 5 minutes 3 times a week. Work out 3 times a week for 30 minutes to stimulate the energy and then get 8 hours of sleep 3 times a week. That basic recipe will save a woman's life, 1. 2, it allows her to let go of some of the baggage and get clear on how great she is. So a part of the work that I've done, I don't teach my clients to do anything. I get them to own who they are. Mm. We don't remember who we are. We have conditioning. We've been told by our parents of what we should want. And so a lot of the challenges that senior women have, or women who are in the middle management now trying to break through the senior leadership, is we have been challenged long before we got a job. We've been proving people wrong for a long time. We actually like it. And so the job is just a continuation of a story that we've had for the past 35, 40 years, probably starting when we were 5, 6, or 12. And so, but we can only run for so long. And that was a part of my story. I could only run from myself for so long. And there is a scripture that says, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Create in me, Lord, a clean heart and renew a right spirit in me. So I'm like, God must have known we were going to get messed up. So a part of the work is removing some of the information that we filter the action through. That's the work.
Yeah. No, I love that. And so for the person listening, I just want to hit those highlights again. It's a 3x3, right? So if you meditate a minimum of 3 times a week for 5 minutes, work out 3 times a week for 30 minutes, and get 8 hours of sleep 3 times a week. Sort of the recipe for wholeness and whole health and mindfulness. I just started the meditating in the last 6 months, and it is really life-changing when you can, for somebody who has a very difficult time shutting her mind off, right? The idea of trying to sit and be still, and I'm still practicing, right? It is a practice for sure, because I'll find myself, wandering, and it's give myself grace, come back to the meditation. But I think that's such sage advice. You have to find the space to be quiet and listen. We're so noisy, we don't have time to listen to our own intuition.
And that's a part of the challenge that a lot of women are having now, high achieving women, bad ASS women, alpha women, is we're carrying so much information and so much data, and we're more connected with more people, and we have the stories and the imprints on our minds of what, I don't know, what Kim Kardashian had for lunch yesterday, which I don't care, but we're now in the social media age where we're looking at things that are not serving us, but it's to veg out, but you're actually imprinting this stuff on your mind, and we're carrying all of these things and wishing that we were somebody else, we were with somebody else, and that we were doing something else, as opposed to just being in the moment and cleaning up some of the mess that we created in our pursuit of high achievement.
Well, that's so true, and I mean, that's profound, really. When you're scrolling and scrolling, you're taking in all of that data, all of that information, all of those images, and that time that is just creating much more chaos and noise in our brains could be so much better used in quiet.
And allows room for intuition.
It allows room for intuition. Yes. And trusting our gut. You can't hear your gut or trust your gut if you don't have time to pause and listen. Yeah, that's powerful. One of the things that you talk about is office politics. That you got to get in the game. I think as women in particular, we struggle with that, right? We're quick to want to say, I don't want to be part of the politics. I'm just going to keep my head down and work hard, and I'm going to over-index on performance and wait to get tapped. Talk about office politics, and what are some of the ways that women need to show up and get in the game?
So here's the thing about office politics. Either you're playing the game or you're getting played, period. You're on the chessboard. So either you're going to move the pieces on the chessboard or you're going to get moved. Because you're on the chessboard just simply by being in a job. It doesn't matter which industry that you're in. And 10% of people play by one rule book and 90% play by another. So when I talked about liking to win, and even when I was in my career, I only wanted to talk to the top 10% of people. And we're different. We're a little crazy, but we're different, and we become the senior leaders. And so I started to notice a difference in how we talk to each other and what our beliefs are around a role that's actually open, because in the Coast Guard, we move every 2-3 years. And as we get more senior, we call them special assignments, where a special assignment is when I worked on Capitol Hill. They're not given that elite position to a lot of people. And as you start to enter that now, the elite position, now we're like a little club because we trust, and we have a different level of security clearance. So there's a lot of trust there. And that's the stamp of, she's the gold standard. Great. Once you start to build those relationships, as people leave, i.e. your sponsors and your industry reputation, as people start to move, they want to bring you with them because you've already demonstrated your ability to perform at a very high level. And I remember my friend, and I used to say this all the time, Cynthia, and but I have to say it, and then it happens, and I'd be like, yes, I knew I was right. But my friend had moved to one job, and he was going to move 3 years later. And one of our senior leaders found out that he was going somewhere, and he called my friend and was like, hey, do you want to come work with me 3 years from now? I was like, oh my God, I knew it. Right? So the 90% would add, we call it a dream sheet, would add that job to their list the year of, not knowing that job was negotiated 3 years ago. Wow. So, now looking at office politics is the same. And I coached a woman in, I can't give the place because then I'll give her away. Actually, no, because we did an interview in Singapore, who worked with a Fortune 100 company, massive company. And we played the game. Oh, it was amazing. I love it. It makes me happy. Her counterpart was moved out, i.e. let go and reorganized out. And this woman ended up building a $6 billion portfolio for her company that's still lasting to this day. While everything, this was in 2020 when everything was going bad. She became a part of an opportunity to now create something new for her company, and then built it in a $6 billion portfolio. And to this day, she uses that in her next thing of, this is what I did for them, this is what I can do for you. And so she was paying attention to the dynamics. And here's the thing, Cynthia. I did this training in February because I always talk about office politics, and it was more of my one-on-one approach, but we've done group in the past 5 years. And so the $500,000 to $1 million accelerator is mindset and office politics. So now I can talk about the office politics because you're going to need that to get to the $1 million level.
Right.
And I was training some women in February, and I was like, wait, so y'all just working? So y'all are just working. You haven't, like, once they start to learn the strategy, they be like, oh my God, I can't believe people are doing this. And I'm like, but men are doing it. So you just thought that working hard can only take you so far, Cynthia. And so when I listen to people cry foul, because that's pretty much how I call it, of being laid off, I'm like, but you weren't paying attention, which is what we talked about. Like, you weren't paying attention. You were working. There are signals. There are birds flying. There are alarms and red flags that are going off. And you can't say, I'm shocked that I got laid off. And I'm like, one, you weren't paying attention to your role and your managers and to the conversations, because they will tell you you're not listening. But then the second part is, to be comfortable and play safe in this market, it's just lazy to me. That's my straight no chaser. It's like, you can't be safe in a job and not understand that no job is guaranteed for you, no matter how hard you work for it. I don't know if I answered your question, but I went around.
No, you did. No, you did. But I think, and I hear you, and I agree. I do think that for myself and for the women listening, sometimes it can be so difficult to think, am I putting my integrity aside by playing the game? And I want you to speak to that, because what I don't hear you saying is you're not playing dirty, but you're aware and you're alert. And so when you talk about the advanced skill set of office politics and knowing how to play the game, what are some of the practical either techniques or things that people should be aware of that gives the person listening some confidence that, this isn't about being schmarmy and not trustworthy. It's about having your eyes open, partly.
It's, here's the thing, Cynthia, it's about strategy. And I learned this, Joe Cousins. And when I put it on LinkedIn, somebody would tag Joe and Joe would make a comment. I'd be like, oh my God. I remember, I was a junior leader, and Joe Cousins is just a super nerd and brilliant. And so he talked about getting to the senior level. I went to Joe's apartment. Joe had a spreadsheet. It was like 4 feet long, right? Of all the senior leaders that made it to, let's say, like the CEO level in the Coast Guard. And he had what they had degrees in, which jobs they went to, like which boxes did they check. I was blown away. I'm like, he's like, oh, I have to make it because I now know I'm looking at the data. And 95% of people who got to that level had master's degrees. So, of course, I'm going to get a master's degree. 80% of those people had, as I talked about, one of those elite positions. So I need to get an elite position. So he started to, at the very junior level, I think we have probably like 5 years in, he started to look at 5 years, if I want to stay for 25 or 30, what are the things, the milestones that I need to hit along the way to be able to get to the elite job, right? And so, I'm getting loud, I get excited. But it's like, so I learned then, that I need the data. And so office politics is, and with one of the women that I was talking to in February, who do I need? I'll just give you one example. I had a client that wanted to be promoted to Singapore. It was a man. And I was like, okay, well, who are the decision makers? He was like, well, I don't know. I'm like, well, That's politics. If you want to be promoted, working hard isn't it. Who are the decision makers? It was 4 people. Okay, the 4 people, where are they? One was in London, one was in Hong Kong, one was in Australia, and one was in Singapore. Go have lunch with these people. People promote who they know, like, and trust. And you need to know all 4. So when you go meet all 4, when they all get together and talk, they're all going to say the same thing about you, right? So he had to find a way to be in Australia, because at the senior levels, once we start to get past that $500,000, $600,000 level, if you want people to advocate for you, then they actually need to know you. That remote is not going to do it.
Yeah.
Even on a global team. I'm like, how bad do you want this promotion? Well, I want it bad. Okay, well, we'll go there. And so he flew and he met the 4 people, and then he got promoted. Within a month, it was probably about 6 to 8 weeks, he got promoted. And so office politics is strategy and intentionality. And going back to the woman that I talked about, once we did this exercise, she saw, one, oh my God, is these 3 people going to be a part of my promotion? I'm over here arguing with 2 people who have nothing to do with my career. Now, they are petty, and I have to defend myself, but you're now spending, and you already know, Cynthia, leadership, we got to fight everybody. It's crazy. Like, but I'm spending my energy trying to defend myself against 2 people who have no bearing on my career. That's what office politics is. Office politics is, who do I need to talk to get to where I want to go, but where do I want to go? And do I have the things that are needed to get there? And the last point is, people get degrees, but they don't have an assignment for the degree, right? Like, you get an MBA and an executive MBA, and then you get mad that the guy has a degree in basket weaving, and you have all these degrees, and he got promoted over you, but he had a relationship. You didn't even need the degree. You thought you needed it, or you got the degree to show them that you had value, and then you continue. But that takes 2 years. It takes money. It takes energy, and you don't have the capacity for additional levels of responsibility. Well, Tony is sitting in the corner, going to golf, right, playing basketball, and taking every holiday, and he has room. And you're stressed out, you're burning out, you have kids, you're the woman, the working woman, you know how they label us.
Yes.
You're really crazy. You don't want to admit to that, but they can see it. Tony has capacity to do more work. We're going to promote him. That's what politics is.
That there is so much in there that I want to unpack, because so many incredible nuggets. First of all, I just want to highlight that you really double down on the fact that this, I think when we hear office politics, there's a level of that feels, again, best word that I can come to mind is
they think it's slimy.
Yeah, schmarmy, slimy, right? But it's not. It's strategy, which you pointed out, and it's intentionality. And those are 2 things we unpack a lot in Now, Near, Next, because to your point, if people don't know your aspirations, they have no ability to say your name in rooms you're not in, number 1, right? You can put your head down and work hard and hope that your performance pays off, but that's not how corporate works. Whether it's corporate America, corporate UK, corporate Singapore, it's just not how it works in the world. And so the first thing is look up, be present, and put your aspirations into the universe. This idea of who's making the decisions and what relationship, do they know you? Do they know what you're aspiring? Do they know what you're capable of? Which I love. You said something really profound that really struck a chord with me. And you know, I Monday morning quarterback my own experience as I heard you say it, which is the person that is spending time fighting the battles with the individual that has no influence over their career trajectory. And I can literally, I would have to change the names to protect the not so innocent, so I won't give an example, but I can literally think of times in my career where there was so much energy exhausted with a peer fighting battles, when that time and that energy could have been so much better spent with the person or people that really had an opportunity to influence my career. And so I think that's huge. I mean, I think for the woman listening, where are you spending your time and energy? Who are you spending that time and energy with? Does the person know your aspirations that has any control over your next? So many good nuggets in all of that. And you are completely blindsided. You're missing the cues. I mean, I've been very public about my position being eliminated under a CEO change. I saw the writing on the wall. I mean, I felt it. It was palpable. In hindsight, it's why I started writing my first book, because I thought, well, I need something, A, to put all of my creative energy, and B, maybe it'll be a source of something if I need to find something else, right? Yeah. So what do you say to the person that is sitting there thinking there might be some signals? What are the signals they're looking for, and what do they do today to take their agency back and move forward?
One, what was interesting is I find, Cynthia, is that people don't have conversations with their leadership team. There is no setup of expectations. And I had this, my fourth feature was in December. I gave away so much information in that feature. I wanted to like take it all back. I couldn't believe it. I gave away the whole code in that article. I was like, oh my God, I want to take it all back. I can't believe it. But it's having the conversation with your manager, a quarterly conversation. And it's like, okay, the quarter's coming up and this is what I did. So even though I was, uncommon with my leadership team, some of them were good, some of them weren't so good, but I was having the conversations with them, right? So it's like, all right, well, now we're in the top of the quarter. What are your priorities for the quarter? So I'm tapped into what's important to them. And you already know, Cynthia, as leaders, what was important to me in January is not the same, especially today, but is not the same as what's important to me as a leader in February, March, April. And it's certainly not going to be the same as in August. And so if you're not having conversations with your manager, you're just working on your job. And so women can be busy, doing 20 good things, but you're missing the one right thing.
Right.
The one right thing that's important. And so to stand out today in 2025, you have to be dialed in on what's important to your manager today, not old data. That's one. Then you say, well, what are your priorities for me this quarter? So now it's like, okay, so we're getting refreshed information on, they want to see you do something different. And you're not even asking, you're just working. So a lot of women miss the mark because they're busy and they're exhausted. And then, I mean, like to the point of tears and boohoo crying that they didn't get promoted is because you were working on the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Right. So, All right. Well, what are your priorities for me this quarter? Then you say, well, how can I assist you with your priorities? That game changer. Because now you're willing to help them take work off their plate. And you already know, Cynthia, as a leader, you'd be like, my God, you want to assist me? Because leaders are busy and crazy. People think that leaders are these magical golden unicorns and we ride magic carpets. We are bat, S-H-I-T, crazy and overwhelmed. And to have someone who works with you and for you say, how can I take oh my God, like you're my best friend.
Absolutely.
So a part of, as we get to, well, why are we missing the mark? Because we're not having the conversations. So not having the conversations, you're not valuable. You're not valuable. And I always give this example, and I call his name now. It's so funny. In 2010, we had to let go of, I had a team of 160 people. I had to let 100 of them go, reservists. We had to replace them. And they were pissed. I mean, it was a whole, political thing. Right. But I had one guy who I asked him, so when I go into a new job, I asked him, well, what, because I like to win, Cynthia. We already talked about it. I said, you know what? You're only giving me 10%. I only need 120. what do you want to do? So I asked them, what do they want to do? I said, what would make you get excited? What would make you jump out of the bed in the morning? I know you hate your job. You don't show up. You're absent. You take every vacation. I know you hate your job. Tell me, what do you need so you can win and I can win? Right? And so
I love that.
it took like 10 minutes for him to trust that I was sincere in what I asked him. And he said, I want to do paperwork. I was like, what? He said, yeah, in order to get to the senior levels, you need to be able to write. I want to do more paperwork. Well, I had a guy who refused to do paperwork, and I wanted to punch this dude in the face. And so the guy's crappy paperwork added 3 hours to my day every day, right? Now I have somebody, because I asked, well, what do you want to do? He said, I want to do paperwork. The next day, I changed his role, and I put him under the guy, and he did the paperwork, and he was a perfectionist, and he loved it, and he shaved off 3 hours of my day, and he stopped the other guy from being punched in the face. Now, when it comes back to the 100 people leaving, he was in that 100. I was like, it's no way. Now, you can take 99.
Right.
But this one, and they were like, no, everybody. I was on conference calls. We did videos. I had to travel. I had to get in people's faces to advocate for him to stay. It was a mandate Coast Guard wide. He was the only person in my office that didn't move, probably the only person that didn't move. And I fought, and they were like, all right, fine. They gave in. And they said, we'll let him stay for 90 days. After 90 days, or actually probably like the 75th day, I'm like, I need him. And then he would go again, I need him. I left before he did. And so I say all that to say it's like when you become that valuable, he was tapped into what was important to me, not his job. Right? Yes. So it's the, however we want to reverse engineer of how I got to that mindset is like, oh my God, oh no, I couldn't lose him. And I didn't.
Again, so much in there. I think I want to just repeat back because I love this formula. And let me just say this. Not every manager is a great manager. Not every leader is a great leader, right? We've all worked for people that aren't great leaders. We've all worked for people that don't take time to have career investment conversations, that don't even take time to have one-to-ones. So what I hear you saying, Christy, is don't wait for your leader to schedule these quarterly chats.
You got to ask.
You schedule the quarterly conversations, and you're asking what's important to you over the next 90 days. What goals do you have for me that align with that? Where do you want me to spend my time? And what can I do for you? Which is huge. I mean, every leader is going to love the fact that you stepped up, that you are taking ideally something off their plate, that you are owning your voice and your agency. And it's clarity, because if the leader isn't clear on their goals, isn't clear on your goals, gives you information that kind of leaves you with more questions than answers, that says something too, right? I've been in that situation too, where it's like either they're not all bought into me or they don't quite have it figured out, but that might be a signal that I might need to think about something else, right? If they're not clear, it also causes you to pause and say, if I'm not getting clear identity of what my goals are and how to move this organization forward, my job might not be adding the level of value that they want and that, frankly, I want either. So,
well, a part of is one more question that I didn't say. It's like you ask, where do you see me in the next 2 years?
Love that.
And if they can't see, and you be like, well, this is what I want. So I would tell them, I want this. So in a performance review, those are like the greatest things. Like we had to do them every year. And I would be like, okay, I want to be marked here. Like people wait for the end of the year for the performance review, and then they don't get what they want. I'd be like, but did they know you wanted that? So at the top of the year is like, okay, you marked me such and such. I want this. How do I get that? And also as a part of the quarterly conversations is, we talked about I want to get here. Where am I? Am I closer to it or am I further away? So you have to like take control of, this is what I want, so they'll know that you're bought in and that you want to be a part of it. And at the end of the year, because you've checked in those times and you said I'm tracking, then I'm going to expect you to give me what we talked about. If we never
That's
talked
right.
about it, I'm like, how y'all keep getting these performance reviews y'all are pissed off about? Y'all never asked. Like, you never set the expectation. And so the conversations also allows you to see how your manager sees you, but it gives you clarity. So when they know what you want, Cynthia, they can place you appropriately, because you're not having the conversation because you're working, and
Right.
we're not, but they're having the conversations over scotch and at the Irish pub that my friends love to go to, and like they're smoking cigars and they're talking about these, men are talking about these things. This is where I
That's
want to
right.
go. How do I get there? That's how these men can get promoted over women, and they don't work as hard, as because the men are making their intentions known and they have the relationship. And so it's now we have this conversation, and if they say, well, I don't see you at all, or if they get real fuzzy, women get mad, and I'm like, don't be mad, just be informed.
That's
Right?
right.
The
That's a
a part
gift.
of the Yeah, a
that
part of
that
the
can be a gift. Yeah.
conversation is to see how they see you. And now that you know how they see you, when Dr. Maya says, when people show you who they are, believe them. When they
Right.
start to get real fuzzy, and you already know, Cynthia, as leaders, if we get information that something's going to happen, we get real fuzzy. Like,
Yes.
because we already know we're having the conversations. I be want to let people know. People are just like playing the lottery and see what balls pop up when they say who's staying and who's leaving. Oh no, we
Right.
know. And so we start to
Yeah.
get real, I don't even know how to say it, shiesty.
Vague.
Yeah,
Very
we're
vague.
like, I'm not sure. And if they start doing that, that should be your signal, is because we can't say it and we don't want to piss you off, because we really need you to perform at the next 3 months, right? And so if
That's
they start to get
exactly right.
real, kind of fuzzy, because you've now established a pattern. So if
That's
their
right.
character has twisted just a little bit, you be like, oh
Yeah.
no, I got to start finding, I got to start looking for something, because they acting a little funny over here.
That is so brilliant. Absolutely. And you're right. We do. We get vague. The 99 people, you're probably vague until it was time to not be vague anymore. Um, I love everything about speaking up and intentionality. And the example you use of the men over the cigars and the bourbon or the whatever is they put their aspirations into the universe and they're acting on those. And what I always say is, look, is not an indictment of men. This is, we need to steal a page out of their playbook, because too often we are taking a passive role in the entire experience. The other thing, just as we're getting close to kind of wrapping up here, the other thing that you mentioned, which is something I'm super passionate about and talk about a lot, is the gentleman who knew he was great at paperwork. There were two things smart about that, right? One was he was very clear on what filled his cup. He knew that he was good at paperwork because he had high attention to detail. He was very organized. He did it with excellence and he enjoyed doing it, number one. And number two, it was a need. So he's taking a natural talent and aligning it with a need. Win-win. What I encourage the people I work with to do is, what fills your cup? What makes your heart sing? What do you do better than others spontaneously, consistently, and brings you joy, right? And go get paid to do that. So if you're in a role, if you're a woman that's listening and you're saying, yeah, I'm getting fuzzy feedback from my leader, I don't really quite know where I stand. First of all, are you asking? Second of all, do they know what you want with clarity, as you've recommended? And thirdly, do you know what you want? Because if ultimately those things aren't aligned, that's a calling that something else awaits, and it's time to start working on that next today. Start thinking about, what is my next, and how do I start working on that now, not when the train's off the rails. Be
I think
proactive.
Yeah, I think a part of it, one of the things that we do in the Executive Accelerator is, what's your unique value proposition? Because if you have 10 to 15 years in the market, you do something better even if you jump from job to job to job to job, there's something that you do in that job that's a common string that runs throughout it. Just like, coaching for me, when I told my friends that I was going to do coaching, which was a revelation after I left the Coast Guard, they were like, no SHIT, Christy, that's who you are. But I'm like, oh my God. Right? And so
Yeah.
none of my mentees are shocked at any of the things that I'm doing today. I think they're kind of, they're curious and they have to be laughing because I have not changed my story. They're like, this lady is saying the same thing that she said to me 25 years ago. And so long gone are the days that we're going to work for a job and women identify with the job. So it's like, what am I passionate about? But what am I passion, we've tripled salaries with passion, right? So I used to say that relationships were the number one way to get a job, but to get to that 500,000 to the $1 million level, it's what am I uniquely qualified to do? And nobody does it better than me. And when I talk about getting raises and promotions, my eyes don't flinch, my voice doesn't crack, imposter, not going to happen. Like, this is what I do, and I get loud about it. And so it's like, this is what I could do. But then I get passionate. And so I had a client who went from 210,000 to 635,000 in 4 months because she knew I'm the best at this.
Right.
What's that thing that you're great at that when you show up at a job, and a lot of times, Cynthia, it's not our job. Mentoring was not my job.
Right.
Right. So it's like, this is what I can do better than anybody else. I'm passionate about it, and this is how I can apply it to you. And I had a client who rewrote her job description with Amazon. She was making about $280,000 at Amazon and was busy working, about to burn out. Actually, she was going to work herself to death. I was like, you're about to die. She was like, wait, what? So it's like, once she got clear on the recipe I gave you on, let's take care of yourself first. Once she started to get some of her mental capacity back and stop, you make $289,000. Why are you cleaning your own house? I don't understand it. Why are you, folding your own clothes? Like, you can outsource that stuff, but that's a different conversation. So it's like, all right, so now that I have my mindset back, people were being laid off left and right at Amazon. She looked at a problem that wasn't, okay, this is what I'm uniquely qualified to do. Nobody's doing it. She went to her managers and was like, hey, this is a problem that I can solve for the organization. And this is the job title. This is the job description. And I want $433,000 for it. And they said, okay. So she got a promotion. She wrote her job description. And so when I look at women who feel sorry for themselves, I'm like, man, if you really understood how great you are, if you slow down enough to do the work and stop working on the wrong things and do the one right things, your life will significantly change for the best. So that's on women to do that work. But we're always waiting for a policy to come save us, or for the next 360 survey, and people give a distorted vision of what you should be doing. And, for the most part, at the mid levels, we get stuck because we're so tired. Right. And we're confused, and we're fuzzy, and we're frustrated because we're doing the 20 things and we continue to see John and Tony do the one thing and they get promoted. Well, let's take a note from John's book. What did John do? The one thing that mattered to his boss, that moved the needle forward. So we have to get clear on what are the needle moving things that are important to my organization. What am I passionate about? What am I best at? And that alone will blow the roof off of any limitations that you have.
Oh my God, this is so powerful. Such a mic drop moment for the woman who wants to get in touch with you. This, for the woman listening that says, I want to make 500,000 to $1 million. You've got resources, you've got coaching, you have an accelerator program. We'll put it in the show notes, but talk about, how do people get in touch with you, Christy?
You can go to my website, ChristyRutherford.com, and hit the coaching tab, or ChristyRutherford.com/coaching. And then just look at the accelerator. I also do events because I like to talk to people, and I like to just share the insight of this is what we're working on and this is what we've done. And so that is ChristyRutherford.com/1M Blueprint. But all of those tabs are on my website. Connect with me on LinkedIn. and follow me on my YouTube channel. I mean, LinkedIn used to be a great place for people to connect, but now the algorithm is so raggedy. Go to my website and subscribe to my YouTube channel with me and the red tank top, because that LinkedIn algorithm is a little raggedy, but you can connect me there anyway.
I know I'm watching the data around that algorithm. It's a little tricky, a little curious for sure. I like to end every podcast with what would be the one thing you would tell the person listening to start doing, stop doing, and continue doing?
One, start taking care of yourself. That, like, self-care is a learned skill for women. We have to learn. It is a learned skill. So that's one, right? And I gave you all the recipe. Meditate 3 times a week for 5 minutes. Work out 3 times a week for 30 minutes, and get 8 hours of sleep 3 times a week. That has gotten us $420 million in salary raises and small business revenue. It has pulled 200 people off the brink of mental collapse and critical stages of burnout. We have saved 30 marriages and kept hundreds of kids out of therapy talking about their absent mama with just that recipe. So let's be clear. So that's start. Stop thinking that you don't have enough to double or triple your salary. We doubled 28 women's salaries and tripled 18. And so how? Is by showing you what you already have. So once you start to take care of yourself, we always think that we need more, and we never take accountability of what we have. Like, you're overqualified for these things. And if people are telling you that you're overqualified, don't be mad. Go 2 levels up. They're giving you the feedback that you're filtering through, right? Like, I'm not enough because I'm overqualified. Right. No, you're overqualified. Just go 2 levels up. I would women do so many things wrong, right? We do so many things right, and we do so many things wrong. But the continuing is to, I would love to say seek passion, but we don't do that, right? I would love to say, so that's going to be hard for me because I just be looking at women like, oh my God. I would say continue caring, right? But continue caring not just about other people. Redirect that energy to put that care into yourself. That would be mine, because we just don't do it. We don't, and we're conditioned to not care about how we feel. We're conditioned to care about how other people feel about how we feel.
That's exactly right. That is exactly right. Oh my gosh, Christy, this was so amazing. I literally could talk to you all day long, and I have gotten so many nuggets myself. I wish I had met you earlier in my career. I think I could have avoided a few landmines and maybe accelerated my path to success. For those of you listening, there's so many important nuggets. Listen to the self-care first and foremost. You'll have more to give if you're taking care of yourself. Be intentional about having the conversations with your leader. Set those up quarterly. Ask those questions that Christy reviewed. It's important that you understand where they're heading, what they have in sight for you, what you can do to help, and where do they see you in a couple of years. Be clear on your own aspirations. Spend time building the relationships with the people that have the most influence over your career, rather than directing all that energy to people that are just sort of getting in the way and the barriers. We can all be victims at times, but the reality is be solution forward. Look for all the wonderful gifts and talents that you have, the passion that you have. Focus on doubling down on your own energy and your own passion, and you will see it pay off, as Christy has done with many, many, many clients in multiples of your earning potential. With that, you guys have got this. Be sure to continue to follow, share with your friends and loved ones that need to hear this message. And until next time, we'll see you soon. Thanks, everybody.